All this time, I've been turning on and off my circuit like that by turning on and off the power or by pulling out a wire. Well, what if I don't have to cause a power cut each time I want to turn off an LED? What if there's a better way? What if there's a component that I can use? What if the answer is buttons? That's exactly what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to take this small momentary push button switch, I'm going to place that onto my breadboard and make that LED light up when I press that button and cause it to turn off when I just release my finger. And once I figure out how to do that, I've got a couple of challenges. There's these things called pull-up resistors, pull-down resistors, and apparently these things bounce. So I'm going to build a pull-up resistor, a pull-down resistor, and fix the bounce thing. There it goes. This is a momentary push button switch. Looks like this one has 4 legs. I'm going to just place its legs into a LED circuit, press that button and see what happens. So let me just place it there and just to see if it works. Why is that LED on all the time? Well, the button's not doing anything. My LED is just on. Well, it's not turning off when I'm pressing it. It just seems to be on. Let me just flip the legs and see what happens. Okay, now that works. Well, now I need to try and figure out why that works because it's got 4 legs and I think 2 of them are connected or 3 of them are connected. Let's use a multimeter, one of these things. So if I just use continuity mode on my multimeter and if I just touch that leg, it beeps. So that means that's connected to that leg. If I now put my probe here, that seems to be fine. And if I put my probe on this leg, it seems to be fine as well. It seems the legs work in pairs. So if I connect that up correctly and press the button, it seems to close some sort of a contact in there and it connects both legs to each other. That's why my LED didn't work the first time. And when I flipped it around, it started working. Now that I know that this button works, the challenge is to create a pull down resistor and a pull up resistor. The reason I'm doing this is because I've been told that when I do make my way up to microcontrollers, inputs float. It turns out floating inputs, what they are is, it's in a microcontroller when a input pin is not connected to anything. It just stays there and it picks up electrical noise. And those electrical noises cause that pin to trigger. And we're going to try and understand how that works and fix it. What are we actually doing? We're going to take that button and we're going to connect it to a known supply or known reference point. In this case, my breadboard power supply has 2 known voltages. One is 5 volts and one is 3.3 volts. I can use either one. I'm going to try and use a 5 volts because it's just rounded up. The only additional thing that I need for this is a 10 kilo ohm resistor. Starting with the pull down configuration, I should just be able to connect one side of the button to 5 volts. Here's where the 10 k ohm resistor comes in. I'm going to put the 10 k ohm resistor from the input to the ground. So when the button is open, it reads 0 volts. And this is called logic low. When the button is pressed like this, it reads 5 volts. This is logic high. Now you're asking, what's the difference between a pull-up resistor and a pull-down resistor? It's just the opposite. So the 10 k ohm goes from 5 volts to the input node. Button goes from the input node to the ground. When the button is opened, it reads 5 volts, so logic high. When the button is pressed, it pulls it to the ground and reads 0 volts, so logic low. The reason I covered this today is because microcontrollers actually have internal pull-ups. And now I know what's happening inside the microcontroller when I actually just put on the code pull-up internal or internal pull-up. So I have one more problem to solve. It turns out these buttons, they have metal contacts inside. And each time I press it, it's not perfect. One click doesn't actually always resist a one click. Metal contact inside bounces and it can cause false readings. How do I fix that? It turns out all I need is one more component, and that is a capacitor. Capacitors charge and discharge slowly, so I don't actually need a big one. I just need a small one like this, which is a 100 nanofarad ceramic capacitor. It doesn't even have to be polarized. all I'm going to do is add this 100 nanofarad capacitor from the input node to ground. This capacitor charges and discharges slowly. It can't follow my button's rapid bouncing, so the signal just smooths out. And here we can see that on the oscilloscope. So how do I know that this capacitor is actually good enough for a 1 millisecond bounce? Like we just did. When I look at the RC time constant, I can see that 100 nanofarads multiplied by 10 kilo ohms is 1 millisecond, which is what we were aiming for. Basic maths. And that's enough to filter that bounce, which I think lasts about 5 to 20 milliseconds. What are some of the common issues that I can potentially come across, and how do I fix them? If my input is stuck on high, I just need to make sure my connections are proper. If my input is stuck on low, again, I need to make sure my connections are proper. Pretty much if my input is stuck on high, make sure my resistor is actually connected to ground, and if it's low, make sure that I'm actually connected properly to the supply. What if my debounce is not working? What if I put the capacitor in and it's still bouncing? Simple maths. Bigger capacitor. And in the next video, I go deep on voltage. What does it actually do in a circuit, and what happens at every node, and how do I measure it? And why is it the most important thing in electronics?